We can defeat the enemy, sing the new recruits to the Kachin Independence Army at their training ground on the sliver of land they still control. While freedom and democracy are being celebrated elsewhere in the country, theirs is one of several ethnic armies who've been fighting the Burmese army, off and on, for the last half-century. For the Kachin, the fighting is very much ongoing. Training has been cut from 3 to 2 months to get these men and women to the front, with real guns, in a hurry.
Burmese army soldiers came into our village. They were firing their guns. They were shooting at the old people who couldn't run. They raped 5 women, stole our livestock and set fire to our homes. I'm old, I'm 42, but that's why I joined up.
The landscape is now littered with burned-out villages from where people fled their homes with their lives and little else.
We don't have enough food. We left with nothing, and so my husband crept back to the village to get some rice. When he didn't return, I went back and found his body. They'd shot him in the chest and stabbed him in the face.
When they hear the Burmese army is on its way, they run. This man's wife had given birth just days earlier and couldn't keep up.
The
next day I went back to look for her and found that they'd killed her with a spear, entering through her ribcage on the left and all the way through to her arm on the right. I found our baby, barely alive, lying next to her mother. I just grabbed her and ran.
Everyone was running, but my mother didn't, and they shot her. I went back and found her body. They'd thrown it in the deep hole that had been dug as a cesspit. It took 10 of us to get the body out, and then I buried her.
The survivors, tens of thousands of them, are now crowded into makeshift camps where there aren't enough basics like food and water, let alone any hope of counselling for the trauma they've endured. We've grown accustomed to hearing reports of brutality about the military dictatorship that's ruled Burma for 50 years. But all these recent stories of atrocities have taken place within the last few months, even though the allegedly reforming government held elections over a year ago and promised change. The people of Kachin and others can be forgiven for being confused. The Burmese government don't want the outside world to see these people because their plight contradicts the new, caring image they want to present. They're restricting aid in the international community, although it's desperately needed. The administrator says there's more than 1,800 people in this camp, and there's not enough food, medicine or shelter. The children might find it all a game now, he says, but when the rainy season starts, it'll be a nightmare. TB has broken out in the camps, and malnutrition is prevalent. My son isn't recovering from his illness and he's not growing, says this mother, because I've got nothing to feed him with. Another mother with 4 children fears for her unborn child.
The children say they're hungry all the time, and I am not getting the nutrition a pregnant woman needs. We long to return to our villages, but how can we? The Burmese hate the Kachin people, and their army will only attack us again.
Both sides blame the other for starting the fighting in June last year, with the Burmese army using artillery and mortars against the Kachin, who are armed with AK-47s and homemade weapons. The fighting intensified in December, at about the time that the American Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, arrived in Burma to encourage the government with its reform program. Landmines caused the most casualties among the Kachin army of some 20,000, who are now struggling to hold out against the Burmese army's 500,000. Over 100 soldiers have died, hundreds more have been injured, and no one knows the number of civilian dead. 31-year-old Nkumbrang Mai lost his leg in December and says he wants to get back to fighting. The doctor in charge of the military hospital says that soldiers get the best treatment available, but that's not up to much.
We lack medicines, prosthetics, everything really, that may take these men back to the front. But considering the facilities we have here, that's just not realistic.
The front lines are just a few hundred meters away from the hospital and from where people are living. We can see the Burmese position on the hill opposite, and no one's too sure when they might attack next.
We could attack their position and probably overrun it, but we don't want to go on the offensive. We wait for them to attack us.
It's quiet here today, the captain explains, because the fighting has moved further north, where the Burmese army is attacking daily. Shortly after Hillary Clinton's visit, and under pressure from the international community, Burma's new president ordered the Burmese army to stop fighting. Why haven't they?
I think there are two reasons. The first is that, under the new constitution, the president doesn't have that much power over the army. And secondly, the president doesn't have the support of the army generals because he wants to reform the country and they don't.
Burmese generals have for a long time enjoyed the wealth of these border areas, which are rich in timber, gold and jade. If they are at odds with Burma's president, this could slow down both reform and a solution to Burma's long-running ethnic conflict. The mainly Christian Kachin say they don't want independence from Burma. They want equal treatment within a federal Burma. Their political party was excluded from the elections in 2010, and the Burmese government have postponed by-elections in Kachin state, blaming security problems.
What the Kachin want is equal rights. If they were to offer genuine democratic union, then this conflict could be solved.
Ongoing peace talks between the Kachin and the Burmese government are taking place in China. The border between Kachin and China runs through the main town here, Liza, and China is weary of the ongoing war on its doorstep. But the delegates returning back through the border post after the latest round say they failed to get an agreement. Why?
To get an agreement, the Burmese government is being asked to withdraw their troops. Politically, the government is making advances towards democracy. They've included the Burmese opposition under Aung San Suu Kyi, released political prisoners, and they say they want to reach an agreement with the ethnic groups. But there'll be no progress with the ethnic peoples if their troops keep advancing.
Until the conflict is solved, the situation here in the camps will get worse. Those who've been here since June say they're praying to go home, but more immediately, they're praying the food doesn't run out before they do. In this camp of 5,000, the ration is down to 1 cup of rice per day per child and 2 cups for an adult. Aid agencies who want to get in to help say they're struggling to get here. The British government has pledged £2 million in aid to help these people supplement their diet. And when the British Foreign Secretary William Hague was in Burma earlier this year, he said that sanctions shouldn't be lifted on the country until the Burmese government allow that aid to get here. But there's huge pressure from business interests in Europe and America for sanctions to be lifted on Burma. People here, hungry and homeless, on the edges of the country, fear they'll be forgotten among the calls for trade to be resumed with a country which is so rich in natural resources. As the Kachin army took us on patrol along a front line that stretches hundreds of miles through the jungle, the commander told me that they're grateful to the British, whose army they fought alongside during the Second World War, for giving them the model on which to build. But over the intimacy of a campfire at night, there's bitterness about their former military ally.
The British shouldn't forget us in our time of need. When they needed us, we fought for them against the Japanese. We are now suffering horribly. Surely this is the time when they should help us.
For now, they sing of defending their land from exploitation by Burma. Knowing full well that they're running short of weapons, manpower and support.
Sue Lloyd Roberts. Well, that's all from News Now.